hope you enjoyed from the last two sessions. So before starting, I'm going to ask you some questions. Like here, do we have any person to just create any software product? Or application developer, or like...
Did we create? Yes.
Yeah, or web development things. Okay, great. So I wanna just ask you for some, let's say, pains, issues during the like app development or your product development that you wanna scale, you wanna make your product like publicly. Can you name some issues that we had, like? Okay, it's fine. So here I just developed this landing page, as you can see here. It's like vibe coding. So here provided just this landing page on my local host. So, but if you are going to just scan this QR code, I'm just going to show you. Yeah, it's not working, as you can just expect that. So because it's like on my local host, so it's not going to be open. So in this case, imagine you want to just show this product to your manager, share it with your colleagues or like your teammate, like working on this product. So how we can just solve these issues or like these challenges? So let's start. From the title, you can see we are just migrating from our local machine or your laptops, just going to AWS. So why move to cloud? As you can see here, like as I mentioned, just accessing from anywhere. So you can make your product public. So everyone can have access to that. Always is up and running, active. So imagine you are just running your let's say website on your local machine or local servers. So if let's say happening a power outage, so you lose your, let's say, service. So as I mentioned, easy to share with others. You can scale it on cloud. Imagine you wanna scale for another region or another, let's say, country. You need to provide some local servers on the region, but in the cloud, you can just simply put your product there and you can scale it and you don't care about it. And also there are other, let's say, issues that's related to the local server that I'm not going to mention here. And so I took the AWS between the cloud service providers as a dominant player here for my solution. Let's see. So this process that I mentioned, like that's beneficial for like our web development, application development, but is it easy to do that? Like migrating from localhost to the cloud? So for sure, also there are some other, let's say, pain points. As I can say, that's like many steps here. You need to just consider that. Maybe you need to take care of your, let's say, data if you just don't have any backup or something like that. So maybe you lose the data here, or maybe you have the risk of downtime or some like errors that you like unexpectedly so facing with that. So yeah, you need to have a complex planning and testing needed to have a let's say perfect plan to do this migration. So if you are going to do it manually, for sure, it's like human error, maybe just provide you some other error or unexpected things. So I took automation here as the answer, besides containerization, to put your product in a container and just put it in the cloud through the automation. So about me, my name is Mohammad. So I did my master's degree in computer networks in Polytechnic University of Milan in Italy. So after that, I had a chance to like work as a cloud consultant in different European countries. So my role was like on those 4 years, it was like about DevOps and cloud. So basically, I had a chance to work with AWS and GCP as a main cloud providers there. So I'm also AWS certified. So let's see. what do we have today, or what's the agenda. So, as I mentioned, we have a, let's say, a landing page here. We put it in a Docker container. Then we use the Terraform to deploy this container to the cloud. And through the Terraform also we take care of some networking stuff and security best practices. And after all, I try to automate all these processes. So let's see what are the benefits about the containerization and also infrastructure as code. So basically for the containerization part, I use Docker, and for the infrastructure as a code, I use Terraform. So for the containerization, there are some benefits. I'm not going through all of them. So basically for the container is like the concept is that when you develop a website, for example, that I showed you, it works very well on my machine. Maybe if I'm just sending to my manager or another colleague, it doesn't work on their machine very well. Or for example, someone needs to, for example, install the dependencies to just have this, let's say, landing page active and online on their machine. So containerization is, let's say, the concept that you put your web page, for example, there with the dependencies in a container, and you don't care about the, let's say, operating system. It doesn't matter because all the dependencies are attached to the web page. You can just define all these steps through a Docker file. This Docker file defines for the, let's say, OS, what do you need to install, what do you need to go through, and what are the steps. And after all, you need to run, for example, this container image. So this is the part for the containerization. So let's go through the Terraform part for the automation. So now imagine we have the Docker image. We need to put this Docker image on AWS. We need some resources. For example, Amazon ECR to host this container image. So you need to take care of these resources. I'm just going to do that through Terraform. Terraform will take care of like deploying and just terminating all those resources, all the dependencies, and you don't care about those stuff. And also you can have this, let's say, modular configuration. You can, for example, write a module for running an EC2 instance, and you put like there as the variable. So these variables can be usable in another machine, in another environment. So you can just repeatedly use this configuration for different environments. So you have a, let's say, a version control, you have a, let's say, recovery point. So like based on the Terraform state files, based on the output, and also configuration files that you have like in Terraform. So let's talk about AWS. Like, as you can see, this is the architecture that I have provided for this demo that I'm going to show you. As you can see, like this rectangular is as a cloud. So firstly, I just developed the web application on my local computer. I put the code on a Git repository. Like here, I'm just showing you for like having a backup there. So through the terminal, I just run Docker, install Docker on my machine. I try to create this Docker image on my machine. Then I having this Docker image. I use just Terraform, like initialized on my local machine as well to take care of these resources. So this Terraform, firstly, go to create those resources on AWS. As you can see, it provision IAM roles. It can just create Amazon ECR to host my Docker image, also deploy VPC, and also launch EC2 instance. So the flow is like that. So after having these resources up and running in the cloud, so this Amazon EC2 instance like pull the container from the Amazon ECR to its environment. As I mentioned, it has all the dependencies inside the EC2 instance, and after having all those stuff, This EC2 instance also is publicly accessible because it has a public IP. So after running this Docker container inside this EC2 instance, users can just from the internet reach out to this internet gateway and just access it through a public IP to the EC2 instance and check the website. So here I'm gonna ask you, because it's like a simple version of this demo, can you mention some, let's say, security best practices or like cloud best practices that we can improve this architecture? Because that's the, let's say, demo version. Do you have any idea how we can improve this architecture?
Putting the EC2 in a private subnet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Web application firewall.
Yeah, also that works. Yeah, let's see. I also provided a, let's say, production, let's say, diagram that we can see here. As you can see, I provided two different availability zones here in the VPC, so you can use different availability zones to have a higher availability for your product. As like our friend mentioned, so we can have a WAF here for the security part. We can have different public subnet and private subnet. So we put those resources that we don't want to just be accessible through the internet, so we put them in a private subnet. And the other services like NAT gateway, we put there in a like public subnet. So if, let's say, any other resources in a private subnet needed to just access the internet for some software update or something like that, they can just go through the internet just through that NAT gateway. So another, let's say, security practices that I can mention here, it's let's say YAML list privileges that we can have in our, let's say, architecture. We can like have key management services or like secret manager. Those services just taking care of, let's say, your data, encrypting those data in transit and at rest. So also we can have here like Amazon CloudWatch to provide you some monitoring and dashboard to just check your like product, it is healthy or not, like where is the problem. So you can collect those logs and metrics and put it simply in an Amazon S3 bucket to have a, let's say, backup of your, let's say, logs. Also, your application load balancer, it's like provide you, let's say, balancing your traffic between the availability zone. Also, you can put the logs inside the Amazon S3 as well to have, let's say, access logs there. So another thing that I can mention is like cloud financial management to just taking care of your costs. So basically, it can just be a, let's say, good example for the production environment. If you are going to expand your services or like scale it for, let's say, production, you can use this version. So for the demo, I'm going to show you a demo. Basically, I just try to have it, let's say, all in automation, like in a bash script language. So it will take care of that. I'm just running that shell file. So the step that I mentioned is just putting that web page in a container. That container is like going to be pushed in Amazon ECR. Also, before that, Terraform take care of all those resources. And after that, just checking the EC2 instance if it's running well. So it pulled the container image, and after that we can just see the, let's say, public IP address like that. Then we can just check our service there. So let's see what do we have here. So basically, I'm just running this file to see. Yeah, as you can see here, first it just check the credential, like if AWS, Terraform, and Docker are all connected to each other. So after that, Terraform will provide you a plan which services is just going to be created here in this part, and after just starting to create those resources. So for sure, it starts from the ECR repository because the main one, we need to just having that beforehand to put the container there. And after that, we are going to create like the VPC, EC2 instance, security groups, to have a whole architecture there. So also the dependencies like route table and subnets. So for sure, those are needed for the VPC. So they are just creating. So yeah, in the meantime, I can just show you about the Terraform. So in the Terraform folder, I have just some configuration files. You can see they are listed here. The main one here is just providing the Terraform, which provider that we are using. So the provider that we are using is AWS. So it knows that just Terraform need to just look for AWS command line to just have the API connection to just create those resources. And another thing is just defined here for the backend. So when you have the Terraform, just in your, let's say, environment, creating those stuff. So Terraform needs to have all the resources that created and maintained in a file that is called Terraform state. All the resources listed there in which status, and you can just check also the details there. And I can see some tags also provided here, for example, here for the region. So let's check another configuration file here for example, EC2 instance. As you can see, it's just a JSON formatted language. It's like key value pair. This configuration file, the key part is like the tags that we need to just define for the Terraform, and the, let's say, value pair is like the value that we need to define for Terraform. I just try to follow the best security practices here and avoiding any hard-coded, let's say, value here. I used all those modules here, and you can define all those variables here in this variable.tf file. All those variables listed here, you can just simply write a description for that. You need to just define the type of, let's say, value and the default value for this, let's say, part. If you define it through the, let's say, applying the Terraform, it just takes that one. If you do not define, so it just take this default version that you can just see here. So I believe we are in a good state with the deployment part. Just let's check. So let's go through that. So here I was just showing you about the Terraform part. So it shows you a plan that I'm going to create these resources for you in your cloud environment. And after that, let's start to create. As you can see, apply complete here. So it creates 10 resources here for us. So after, it just check for the ECR and EC2 instance. So EC2 instance is already up and running with this IP address, and ECR repository name here listed for you. Then it goes through the creating that container image. So it just looking for the directory that I provided for the Docker file. It just find it there and try to create that container image and then put it in Amazon ECR. As you can see, it pushed there. So then, like this Terraform takes care of the, let's say, making an SSH connection to the EC2 instance and just pulling that container and also installing the dependencies to a startup command line that I put it in a EC2 instance. So at the end, we should have a, let's say, link here to our application that we are going to test. So yeah, if you try now to just scan this QR code, you should be able to just reach to this page. After that, I just provided my LinkedIn profile in below, and also you are able to download this presentation there. If you wanna, you can just check and reach to this page.
Thank you. Thank you.
So another thing that I need to mention before just wrapping up this session, I just wanted to provide you just next step of this demo. Just going through that just quickly. For example, in advanced features that we just mentioned about the serverless. For example, I just use the EC2 instance here. You can just use AWS Lambda or Fargate to just deploy your code or services there. So, and for the CI/CD integration, you have different methods that you can see: blue-green deployment, canary releases. Just these are like it's complex, or let's say more advanced method that you can just go through that. And thank you all. Yeah. Good luck.